All right, guys. Today we're going to be reacting to Senator JD Vance on Face the Nation. Let's jump in.
You are outstanding, but when you look at what decides elections, the vice presidential pick rarely matters. How are you going to prove him wrong?
Wow, already.
Well, I think President Trump's right about that.
Wow,
actually.
already.
Most people were voting for Donald Trump or for Kamala Harris. Donald Trump delivered rising wages and a secure border. Kamala Harris has delivered an open border and falling wages relative to inflation and groceries and housing and so forth. So I think that he's actually right, that most people, when they cast their ballots, they're basing it based on who the presidential nominee is, not the vice presidential nominee. It's just straightforward political reality, and I think Donald Trump's right.
So you are there to deliver some of the punches.
Well,
wow.
I'm there to help define our opposition a little bit.
That
I think
quick?
that, unfortunately, Kamala Harris has run a campaign where every time she's in front of voters, a teleprompter is in between. She doesn't really talk to the media.
Wow, that quick? We're going to be just playing games? That quick? My goodness.
She hasn't answered, I think, a single tough question from a reporter. So, yeah, one of my jobs is to get out there and just make sure the American people know that this is a person who supported open borders, who suspended deportations, who stopped the Remain in Mexico policy that kept a lot of Americans safe. And, of course, my job is to help govern once we actually get elected. But I think, again, most people are voting for Donald Trump or for Kamala Harris. That's just the way it is.
So let's talk about the vision for the country that you're offering. You supported the Supreme Court ruling recently on mifepristone, the so-called abortion pill, that ruled opponents lacked the legal right to sue over the FDA approval.
That's right.
This drug is used in like 60% of all abortions in the United States. In a Trump-Vance administration, would you use the FDA to block access to this drug?
Well, no. What the president has said very clearly is that abortion policy should be made by the states, right? You, of course, want to make sure that any medicine is safe, that it's prescribed in the right way, and so forth. But the president wants individual states to make these decisions because, look, Margaret, California is going to have a different abortion policy from Ohio, which is going to have a different abortion policy from Alabama.
But that was actually different because after Dobbs, the Supreme Court took up this case.
Yeah, but like you said,
as different.
Sure, but like you said, on a matter of legal standing. But I think that what we really want is when states and voters in those states make decisions, we of course want the states and the federal government to respect those decisions. And that's what President Trump has said, is consistently we need to get out of the culture war side of the abortion issue. We need to let the states decide their specific.
That's a good point. We have to take the abortion situation and put it out of the culture war. We need boots on the ground to make sure they can take care of that problem in itself and create a momentum where at the end we can basically put it illegal or almost illegal, right? Almost illegal.
Specific abortion policy. And look, what President Trump and I want to do on family policy is make it easier for families to start in the first place. We want to bring down housing costs so that if you have a baby, there's actually a place to raise that baby. We want to increase and expand the child tax credit. We want to make it easier for moms and dads to not be shocked by these surprise medical bills when they go to an out-of-network provider. We're working on all this stuff, and I think that's ultimately how we turn down the temperature a little bit, is to make it easier to choose life in the first place. Because, you know, when you talk to women, you talk to moms and dads, a lot of times they feel like if you have a pregnancy, especially an unexpected pregnancy, there just aren't options. We want to provide more options so that people are raising families in a thriving and happy way in this country.
So at his press conference last week, Donald Trump seemed to indicate he was open to restrictions on mifepristone. He was asked by a reporter about this, and he said there are many things on a humane basis that you can do, but also give a vote. So he did seem to be indicating he's open to restrictions on this particular drug.
Look, I think what he said...
Are you saying that's wrong?
Well, I think what he said, Margaret, is, first of all, even some of the reporters who were in the room at that press conference said it wasn't clear what the reporter was asking. Maybe he couldn't hear that person super clearly. So I don't want to put words in President Trump's mouth. What he has said very clearly in the debate is that he agrees with the Supreme Court decision, but more importantly, he wants these decisions to be made by the states. I think that is the President Trump vision for the Republican Party.
Because
that is I like how the strategy is going. They already know what the media is going to ask them. They're ready for it. They're ready for it. JD is going to be doing interviews like this. I'm going to love this. I'm going to love this because he's ready for it.
You personally signed on as the senator to a letter to the DOJ demanding it shut down all mail order abortion operations under the Comstock Act. So would you seek to enforce that law differently?
Well, what we said in that letter, Margaret, is that we want doctors to prescribe this stuff to ensure that it's safe. I mean, we do this with antibiotics, we do this with a lot of antidepressants, and we just want the FDA to make sure that doctors are prescribing this in a safe way. That's all that we ever said, and I believe that that is how President Trump feels about this, is again, you want the states to make these determinations. You also want to make sure the FDA is ensuring that these medications are safe for anybody who's taken them.
It's been on the market for decades, and the FDA does say it is safe, but
antibiotics are safe, but we want to make sure they're prescribed by doctors and that
doctors are
monitoring the stuff so that people don't get hurt. And
of course,
Margaret,
what's wrong with that?
We talked now, I think, for 6 questions about abortion.
I'm still trying to get a clear answer. So for an FDA commissioner,
he gave you straight answer. I don't know what's wrong with her.
Part of choosing where that commissioner stands on this drug, would that determine whether or not they are chosen to be put in this key role?
I think President Trump has clearly said there are no litmus tests on this particular issue. He just wants to make sure that drugs are safe and effective before they're out there in the market. And of course, that doctors are properly controlling this stuff so that people don't get hurt. And again, Margaret, I mean, we talk about abortion. I think President Trump's views on abortion are extremely clear. What's interesting, of course, is that President Trump is trying to find some common ground on this issue. And you have Democrats who have supported abortion right up to the moment and sometimes even beyond the moment of birth, which is just sick stuff. And I think it's such a contrast.
That is accurate.
In fact, the Born Alive Act, multiple members of the current Democratic administration, including our vice president.
Look at this, guys. Fact check, Harris did not support the Born Alive Act. She was not opposed to it. Let's put it, at least she was not opposed to it when they were trying to pass it in California or in Virginia. You see what I'm saying? Fact check, Harris did not support it. Interesting, huh? Very interesting.
Supported that legislation. They have supported taxpayer-funded abortions up to the moment of birth. I just think it's bizarre, and you contrast it to Donald Trump, who's trying to find some common ground on this issue.
They will never do this with Democrats. Fact check them right there on the spot. Never, bro. Never. I cannot see them. I cannot see them simply doing it.
What he's trying to do.
Well, actually, he's saying send it back to the states so he doesn't have to stake out a position on this.
So that the states, Mark,
that's the right position.
Part of our federal process is that states sometimes are going to make these decisions for themselves, and I think that's how you find some common ground.
But on that, you were saying both that it should be doctors who determine the safety of a drug, but also that states should determine the availability of that drug. Do I have that right?
Well, no, that states are going to determine their abortion policy, and of course, doctors are going to determine the safety of drugs.
And if 60% are through medication abortion, it brings us back to the pill. That's why I was asking you that.
Well, but again, states are going to make these decisions. I'm actually confused a little bit.
Yeah, like what?
Margaret,
like she's trying to put something in the conversation that's not fitting. Like it should be like that. A lot of these situations, a lot of these cases should be straight to the state level. That's it. Point blank. That's the end of the conversation. But she doesn't want to have it like that. She want to have a gotcha moment, I guess.
Alabama, let's say, is going to have a different abortion policy from California. That's not inconsistent with then saying doctors are going to have to prescribe this stuff, whatever the individual policy of the state is. I'm not sure what the confusion is there.
I don't know. President Trump said there are some humane things that could be done in addition to the
again,
vote.
in a loud room where he couldn't hear the question super well, but I think his view on this has been very clear, and I've just articulated it.
We want to clarify what Senator Vance said about the Born Alive Survivors Protection Act and his claim that Vice President Harris supported the legislation. A CBS News fact check finds Harris voted against advancing the bill twice when she was the senator and has previously called it extreme and a setback to reproductive rights in America. We found no evidence that anyone who currently serves in the Biden administration voted for it either. Here's more of our interview. So let me talk, you talked about family policy, so I have...
Oh my God. So the Democratic Party, this is the problem with these stuff. Like Democratic Party, we know for quite some time now that they're in favor of late-term abortions and abortion after the baby is even born. That's why Glenn Youngkin won the governorship in the state of Virginia. Like the craziness is that's the platform of the Democratic Party. You got the biggest voting block is single women. What are you talking about? Like, it gets to a point where if you need the media to defend the Democratic Party, that's how you know how bad the Democrats are. You have media after media after media just protecting their position. Why not having a Democrat come here and protect their own positions? I'm guarantee you guys, as soon as some of these politicians the Democrats start doing interviews, I'm gonna react to it. Because I'm not thinking they're gonna get this much pushback. No way. No way.
Specific questions for you on that. You've been talking about the concern about the low birth rate in the United States of America, which is well documented. You said people without children should pay higher tax rates than those who have children.
Yes.
And the U.S. should look at lowering income tax rates on women who have multiple children. And you pointed to Hungary as a model for that.
Yes.
How do you plan to implement that policy?
Well, it's called the child tax credit, and we should expand the child tax credit. If you think about what the child tax credit does.
So you and the Biden administration agree on the child care tax credit?
Well, we think it should be bigger. I think President Trump and I believe in an expanded child tax credit, but we also importantly want to actually get this thing done. The child tax credit has languished thanks to the Biden administration because Harris has failed to show fundamental leadership. Chuck Schumer's been unable to get it through the United States Senate, and we want to have a more pro-family policy. Now,
there was
you
just
asked
a vote
about,
on this, you know that.
Well, let's.
And
No. Let me answer. Let me answer.
It was a messaging bill. I'll give you that.
It was a show vote.
I'm with you on that.
And if I had been there, it would have failed.
So
and
tell me specifically what you want to do to expand
Well,
the child care tax credit, because it's like $2,000 per kid right now.
Well, I think one of the things you can do is make it bigger per child. I think we'd love to see it at a higher dollar value. And again, President Trump and I have proposed that. I mean, look, I'd love to see a child tax credit that's $5,000 per child, but you, of course, have to work with Congress to see how possible and viable that is. We've also proposed legislation, Margaret, to end this practice of parents getting these surprise medical bills where they go to the hospital, they have a baby, they chose an out-of-network provider, and they come home with unexpected bills. I've actually sponsored legislation to end that practice.
That's
so
very
we have
good.
a whole host of pro-family policies that are out there. And again, on the Harris administration, I got to push back against something a little bit, Margaret, because when these comments where I said parents should pay lower taxes via the child tax credit came out, the Harris administration immediately jumped and said, we disagree with this. The Harris campaign said, we disagree with this. So did they want the elimination of the child tax credit, or were they just being careless in responding to remarks that I made 3 years ago? I don't know. They should clarify it, maybe in an interview with you, but of course.
There we go. Yeah. Put her back on there. That's very good.
We hope to have her on and ask her.
Which is not going to happen, folks. It's not going to happen. Do you see how she's not even confident with that statement because she knows it's not going to happen? I will be happy to. She's not confident. She knows very well it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
The child care tax rate, you said $5,000 per child is what you would like to get to. Where would that kick in? Because the current one, if income is $400,000 or below, it's $2,000 per child. So where would the $5,000 per child kick in?
I'd like to have a broad-based family policy and a broad-based child tax credit, Margaret. Again, we've talked about doing this for a long time. President Trump has been on the record for a long time supporting a bigger child tax credit. And I think he wanted to apply to all American families. I don't think that you want this massive cutoff for lower-income families, which you have right now. You don't want a different policy for higher-income families. You just want to have a pro-family child tax.
Yeah, all the same. You make $1 billion, you make $2. All the same. I like that.
So you have personally opposed universal child care. How do you solve the child care crisis in America?
Well, what I've opposed is one model of child care. We, of course, want to give everybody access to child care. But look, in my family, I grew up in a poor family where the child care was my grandparents. Right. And a lot of these child care proposals do nothing for grandparents. If you look at some of these proposals, they do nothing for stay-at-home moms or stay-at-home dads. I want us to have a child care policy that's good for all families, not just a particular model of family. And that's what I've said.
So what do you mean by that? There would be like a credit per kid if it's a...
We don't know, lady. We don't know. Like, it's very broad. It's an idea that can have some fruition later on. Like,
stay-at-home mom, credit per kid if it's grandma.
Yeah, exactly.
Get a check.
No, that's exactly what I proposed. Now, I don't. That's exactly what we've proposed both publicly and I've talked about doing privately. I'm just saying that I don't want us to favor one family model over another. If you've got grandparents who are at home taking care of the kids, I think they deserve to be treated the same way as other family models by their government.
Gay families. They'd be included. All families.
All families would be included, of course. All families would be included.
So I was looking at the platform, the Trump-Vance.
That was a stupid question, right? Gay family. Their family. Their family.
Platform that was rolled out at the RNC. You talk about school choice. You talk about 529 savings accounts. What about really young kids? Should 3- and 4-year-old kids have access to preschool?
Well, look, I think that certainly some families are going to choose that, but again, some families are going to choose grandparents and so forth. I think our view...
Well, that's childcare. That's different than...
No, we're not doing that.
Well, very often preschool is childcare, is at least a form of childcare. I know that when I went to preschool, my parents used...
Your kids went to preschool?
Yeah, and we used it as childcare, right? You're hoping the kids get a good education, but you're also doing it because you want to provide childcare for your kids. I don't think there's anything incongruous or inconsistent about that. And I think, look, we believe that we want to make it easier for American families, Margaret, to make their own choices on this stuff. When we talk about school choice, of course, school choice would apply to all families. It would apply to all parents. And we would just want parents to have choices.
Including for preschool, because in many public school systems, there is no preschool. That's why I'm asking.
I think that we want parents to have choices, Margaret.
Look at her little face, I mean, I hate this type of feminist, man.
In public school systems, there is no preschool.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking you, because you see, I'm telling you because you don't know this, right? Like, this is the problem with females in politics. I'm gonna say it, right? They really don't understand that preschool is not mandatory. We don't need it. If you have 2 couples working, I understand it's gonna be hard, but it's not mandatory to put your kids in the preschool. You have to figure out. I mean, my girl right now is gonna be 4 in December. We don't put her in preschool. Well, we taking care of her own education. But it's like, what's next though? We're gonna give everything for free now? Like, what's going on here? Like preschool this is JD Vance needs to be more strong in this position. Preschool, not for now. Not for now, because she starts smelling that inconsistent kind of answer, like, and she want to attack it, right? You have to be more strong when it comes down to a position like this. But she's doing this, like, condescendingly, right? Stupid.
Masking.
I think that we want parents to have choices, Margaret. Like I just said, we want them to be able to make the choices that make the most sense for their family. For some, it's going to be preschool. For some, it's going to be daycare. For some, it's going to be having the kids stay at home a little bit longer. We just want the government to treat everybody equally, regardless of whatever education or family model you have.
Fair.
So you have a very young family.
I do.
You have a very accomplished wife. Usha, who she went to.
I'm very proud of her.
Yes, Yale, Cambridge. She clerked at the Supreme Court. We heard her on stage at the RNC. You gave a recent interview to Megyn Kelly.
Yeah.
And you spoke about white supremacists attacking your family.
Sure.
Because she's not a white
liberal.
Concerned are you that this kind of hate would follow you to the White House?
Well, look, it's going to follow us wherever we go, because that's the nature of public life in America, and it's disgraceful. Look, I love my wife. I'm very proud of her. I'm extremely lucky to have met her and to have gotten the chance to build a life with her. And my attitude on this is, if people want to attack me, attack my policy views, they're welcome to. I signed up for it. My wife didn't sign up for it.
There you go. Let's go. That's a man right there.
She's way out of their league, the people who are attacking her. So I wish they would just keep their mouths shut, or at least focus on me. But look, it's the nature of public life in this country.
There we go. Nice job.
My wife's pretty tough, and she knows what we signed up for.
There we go. Nice job. Nice job. That's how you do it. See, you don't become a victim. You say you own the job, and that's it. Move forward. She's trying, because I think personally, when they ask these questions, it's not really about the content. She's trying to get the emotional riled up from JD, and that way he becomes more vulnerable. That's how I see this. That question in itself is not a question from a very genuine position. She's trying to make sure JD becomes a little bit emotional, and that way she can lock him in. That's what it is.
Keep your temper when you hear things like that.
Yeah, I get pissed off sometimes, certainly.
Yeah.
When people attack your family, and certainly attack your family for something that no person can control. And I do think that there's been this thing in America where we've said that we should judge people based on their skin color, based on their immutable characteristics, based on things that they can't control. I frankly think that, unfortunately, a lot of people on the left have leaned into this by trying to categorize people by skin color and then give special benefits or special amounts of discrimination. The Harris administration, for example, handed out farm benefits to people based on skin color. I think that's disgraceful. I don't think we should say you get farm benefits if you're a black farmer, you don't get farm benefits if you're a white farmer. all farmers. We want to thrive, and that's certainly the President Trump and JD Vance view of the situation. But I do think, unfortunately, when our leaders divide us by race, you're going to have hate on the left side of the political spectrum. You're going to have hate on the right side of the political spectrum. We should just judge people based on individual characteristics and based on merit. And that's certainly what President Trump and I want to do.
But that wasn't born in the last 4 years. I mean,
not at all. But I think that President Biden and Harris have certainly accelerated it. I don't think you've seen anything like what we've seen.
Very nice job. Very nice job. I like how JD's handled this question, this interview. Let me know what you guys see in the comment section below. See you in the next one.